So, you've probably been following all of the recent hoo-ha around Epping, the migrant hotel, a rapey migrant, and the establishment response. Now, what's interesting is how quiet the Labour government have been on this. Have you noticed that?
That is a fair point, actually, because last time they were fire and brimstone when this stuff happened.
Keir Starmer, I didn't even get the article because Keir Starmer made one statement that was just like, well, obviously violence is unacceptable. And that's, well, yeah, duh. But that's basically the sum total of what his entire...
But last time they were all queuing up to go through the bingo card of far-right, thugs, fascist.
Exactly.
Yes.
You can see that he's learned his lesson on this, right? He's oh, no, everything's bad. But that's it. That's all he said. And he's essentially kicked the can then down to the local authority saying, no, this is your problem. And so the police chief has had to come out and make a statement. Now, this actually was quite a good statement. The statement itself was generally I'm not going to play it because it was 20 minutes long, but he doesn't call people far right in it. And what he does, yeah, I know. I literally tweeted out, right, we need a bingo card, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's going to be far right, fascist, racist. He doesn't say any of those things, and actually does quite a good job of making himself. He begins by literally saying, look, we are here to protect the people of Epping and Essex. If it's their concerns.
Okay, I have doubts on that aspect.
Right, well, hey,
fine.
I agree with you, right? And this is why I've called this segment "They're Lying About Epping," because the lie isn't actually in the words that he's using. The lie is in the framing that he presents and the things he doesn't say. But he points out that, he's not there to make political judgments. He is, in fact, the police force are meant to be politically neutral, and they are the servants of the people of Epping. They are there to uphold the law as it's written and not as they'd want it to be written. So a kind of nudge to say, yeah, well, and this is quite a solid framing, actually. And it didn't annoy everyone, because everyone was... I personally, when I was waiting for this to come up, I was like, right, okay, It seems to me that he has basically two choices, which is to either repudiate the rioters and the protesters and say, nope, you're far right and we're here to protect migrant lives, or capitulate entirely and put the establishment, the regime, in a position where they are essentially morally illegitimate. And he did neither of those things. What he did was kick the can down the road and say, you know what, I'm a non-entity in this. I am politically neutral. I don't have any opinions right or left. I'm just here to uphold the law. And this is nothing to do with me, governor.
So I didn't watch this because I assumed so heavily it was going to be the first. I just knew it would be the latest in a series of betrayals from the police.
Yeah.
But if you've detected a shift in their thinking, like, oh, maybe we can't backstab the British people forever.
It's not that. What it is I don't want to take responsibility. That's what this press conference was.
Right.
And so he committed himself very firmly to the sort of neutrality of the institution, as if anyone believes the police are a neutral institution. I mean, at least he had the dignity not to wear his pride lapel markers or whatever they call
them.
Yeah,
or red shoes or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. The vans, they left the pride vans at home, as you can see in the background there, right? So, the claim to political neutrality is obviously BS. But he understood that this was the safest way out of this and to create the least controversy. What was really interesting though is when it got into the Q&A. And so you had obviously Charlie Peters from GB News asking questions, but you also had someone from Sky News asking surprisingly based questions. I don't know if I've actually got the Sky News one because I didn't want to focus on that, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, that was an interesting turn. The Sky News person asked him, do you concede or do you admit that your police officers were working with the counter-protesters?
And we have got them on video.
Well, he does deny it, which is what there's a reason that I'm saying that he's lying, because he is basically lying. But he is politically canny. Lee here summarizes the problem with it, though, because this was, as he says, Chief Constable Ben Julian Harrington, who has a double-barreled first name. Weird, isn't it? Anyway,
yes.
His officers were literally filmed escorting him in and busting him out. We'll talk about that. No explanation, no resignation, no apology. Arrogant, vacuous rubbish. Kind of. I wouldn't necessarily have called him arrogant necessarily, but it was definitely he definitely didn't concede any ground.
So it's interesting that he's using 90s rhetoric.
Yes.
I mean, 80s or 70s, they would have been on our side.
Yeah.
By the 90s, they'd moved to nothing to do with MeGov before they moved into being 100% pro the invader.
Yeah.
But also, even in the 90s, a chief of police would have resigned for what had happened here.
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who forgot, an immigrant molested a bunch of kids, allegedly. They've been taken into custody. People started rioting at the hotel. The police ran someone over.
Well, I mean, just to add on the rioting front, my understanding is that people were protesting peacefully, and then because of the counter-protest that they shipped in, the belligerents...
I should probably have been more clear on that, yes.
Yeah.
The police... Sorry, yeah, the police curated a left-wing protest into their general direction. And you may remember... Do you remember when Tommy Robinson was running as an MEP in 2019, and they did the same thing in Oldham? So there was a bunch... Tommy was leading quite a large gathering of families, actually, and the police just marched probably about 200 Muslim men over to it, and they started a brawl, and they started beating people up. And it was exactly that kind of thing, except that
they engineer it.
Yeah, the Epping police, Essex police, didn't have access to 200 angry Muslim men. What they had is 200 dysgenic leftists. Probably not even 200, about 50 dysgenic leftists. So no one.
You're going to need a lot of dysgenic leftists before to worry about.
You are.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think was most interesting about this was this particular comment, and this is what I mean when I say that. I'm going to get to about 55 seconds in just to spare you. But this is what I mean by he decided that he wasn't going to take any responsibility at all.
And that's what we did.
Was there no thought about keeping the groups further away from each other? It's well known that these groups will confront each other and generate that hostility, which then leads to sparks of violence that has played out. Is that a regret from your force that you didn't keep them further apart?
It's not for me to comment and to try and criticise or indeed to examine that operation. We made 10 arrests. We have managed to...
He goes on to kind of justify himself, but he's the chief constable.
Okay, so that's really interesting for a number of reasons. I mean, first, the obvious point, it's not for me to comment on police operations.
Says the chief
for police operations. But beyond that, there's something deeper going on here. I mean, the body language is like, oh shit, I'm trapped. That's what your kid looks at you like after you've caught them red-handed with a cookie.
Yeah.
And when he goes on to say, it's not for me to comment, I mean, it would suggest that there are orders from a higher source than him, the Home Office, for example, that has said the standard practice is you ship in protesters, and he's like, okay, well, I've been caught red-handed here. It's all on film. People are calling for my resignation, but I've got orders from the top that the way you deal with this is like they've been doing it for decades. They engineer a fight. And that doesn't come from him. That comes from much higher up.
And all he can do is say, well, look, I'm just an empty vessel in this.
Yeah.
Through me flows the will of the Home Office or whoever.
I mean, at some point it begs the question, who is actually making decisions? Because if you remember, Suella Braverman was saying the same thing. When she was Home Secretary, that she basically had no power to do anything or change anything.
She, at NatCon, she said explicitly that Rishi Sunak just stopped her and blocked her at every avenue.
But we also listened to Liz Truss, who said that when she was Prime Minister, that she didn't have any power to change anything.
Exactly.
So somebody somewhere has got to be in charge.
One would think, right? One would think. But this is the point. The Chief Constable of the Essex Police feels that he's not really in charge of the Essex Police, and it's not for him to comment. Now, of course, you get headlines like this where they say police deny busing claims. Because he does deny that they bust them in.
I thought I saw the opposite, though.
Well, you did see the opposite, but the important thing to note is the very complex and precise language that he's using. So this chap isn't the chief of Essex Police for nothing. It's because he's very capable of towing a line and giving a very specific set of responses.
Hang on, can we take it one at a time? Just give the chief a chance. I think there's one extra point there. I think there's a myth about police officers' roles with a van specifically, and I think, Chief, you should address that if you're happy to.
And I think that's a good prompt, Robin, so thank you. I mean, there's been some accusation in the media that we drove people to the protest. That is not true. We have not driven anybody to that protest. People made their own way there. And of course, one of the accusations and one of the things circulated is we did take people away for their safety, for the safety of everyone there, because it was the best operational thing to do to prevent violence, to diffuse the situation. We drove them away from a violent confrontation.
Chief Constable, what do you say?
Sorry, where are you from?
Right, so no, sir, we didn't drive them there. We escorted them there. we literally curated their walk. I mean, you can see the police here, just curating the event. We're going to march you to where the local protesters are, so you can confront them. But we didn't bust them there, and I guess technically you didn't bust them there. Well done, you walked them there. That's very true. And then he says, "Well, we did bust them back, though." Which they did, and this is actually a hilarious video from the guy recording this.
Their bus has arrived.
The bus has arrived. The bus has arrived.
I mean, he's repeating what the police officer just said. The buses have arrived.
Yeah.
Does look like a gaggle of leftist, doesn't it?
It is.
The coaches have arrived.
And there you can see them getting on, and the guy's just like, "Don't forget your bus passes, lads." But one thing I can't help but notice, not exactly a great sense of urgency there, is there?
No.
There's a lot of danger there, is there? Doesn't look very dangerous. It looks
a casual stroll to me.
It looks like they were just standing around, and then the police turned up with their buses, and were like, "Right, okay, here we go. Time to get on now, lads." Well, ladies and gentlemen, old people, leftists, whoever it is. This wasn't done under the impending and looming danger of a far-right mob that was going to tear them limb from limb. This all looks very orderly and peaceful, and that you just decided that we're just going to pick them up and bust them out.
Well, I mean, these are some of the most protected people in the country, so...
Yeah, they are. And so this really is the lie, because what the police chief constable, what was his name? I can't remember his double-barreled name.
Double-barrel first name.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
What was it? There's his name. There we go. Ben Julian Harrington, right?
Yes.
What he is claiming with this is that there is no level of police engagement there's no level of cooperation, of undue cooperation between the two organisations, right? Stand Up to Racism, which is the group that organised this, and the Essex Police, which is the group moving them in.
Well, they're probably getting paid by the same source. So,
and taking them out. Well, quite indirectly, yeah, possibly, yeah. Quite possibly are. But the point is what his press conference was designed to do is say, well, no, we're the local police, we're the Essex Police, we're just doing our job, we're just completely neutral on this, and everyone was just following their own inclinations, and we were just making sure that law and order was followed. But it's clearly not the case. What's clearly the case is that actually there wasn't any dire danger for these people. They could have just walked off. Like, at no point, there wasn't a huge rabble of guys preventing their exit, that the police had to come in with their police buses and give them a lift out. No, this was all very orderly and prearranged. Like, they were all just standing there.
They knew what to do, yeah.
It's
they knew
turned
they were
up,
going to get busted.
and the police are like, right, okay, get on. So there is a great deal of hand-in-glove cooperation between the Essex Police and Stand Up to Racism. You took them to the protest, where it's not appropriate to try and provoke the locals who are very unhappy with rapey migrants touching their kids. And then when that didn't work, you bust them out, and then you said, oh yes, because they were in danger. They were not in danger. There's clearly no level of danger there whatsoever.
I mean, I note that this guy is a senior officer in current year, and that means that he has basically been politically selected. I've talked about this in the podcast a whole bunch of times.
No doubt.
You don't get into the senior ranks of the police without it basically being a political appointment, and the politics that they actively search for is the whole DEI thing.
But at least he left his rainbow lanyard at home.
Well, at least he did that, yes.
So anyway, let's have a quick look at the quality of the protesters. These were lovely people. Anyone running from wars, we should be welcome. Should be welcome here. Okay, but these people are not running from wars. I mean, it's just literally the case that none of these people are coming from a war zone. What these people are highly suspect. But as you can see, there.
To be fair, the woman holding the sign and the woman next to her do not have an awful lot to fear from rapists.
Or wars, I guess. I mean, they don't know they've run from much. But she is being very lovely to someone. Drive the Nazis out of Essex. I mean, just look at the state of them, to be honest. Does this look like an organic protest to you?
Well, I mean, I've been to some right-wing protests, especially during the COVID era. Nobody was handing out identikit signs.
Exactly. And you'll notice that we talked about this when we covered it last week on the podcast. All of the locals who were protesting had just cardboard signs that they'd written on themselves, their own unique messages, rather than just this. Again, who's paying for this, right? The police are working with an organisation that have equipped a bunch of rent-a-mob protesters, and the police march them in and then bust them out at their convenience and at their leisure. It's like, sorry, you're lying to suggest that you are not working with these people. We know that you are, because otherwise they wouldn't have known just to stand around and wait for the police vans that'll pick them up. I mean, where did you take them? Where did these signs come from? Anyway, just in case you weren't wondering, though, you are a racist, right? This is why the demonstrations in Epping are racist.
You are responding with that energy and violence only to these crimes that are committed by people who aren't white, to immigrants. However many, I don't know the numbers, but white men commit atrocious acts against women and children. Actually, literally take, for instance, the aristocrat and her boyfriend who went on the run and their baby daughter died. That's a horrific story. And you're not writing about the death of that girl?
No, we're not. There's the white man in question. I assume that this is the story of the aristocrat and her boyfriend, whose daughter died when they went on the run for whatever reason. What are you talking about, bro? What are you talking about? The objection, yes, it is that they are immigrants. It's because, I mean, white men commit atrocities, do they? I mean, I don't. I'm sure the odd one does, but it's hardly the same thing. But the point on this is, like, you can say that's racist, but that still doesn't change the fact that there's no reason that we should be importing a bunch of third world rapists.
I mean, there's what this segment is actually about, but I'm having to continually turn my mind back from the study of physiognomy.
Well, yeah.
With all of these characters.
Yes, but speaking directly to the point, not why he would be making the point, is that, obviously, we know that the illegal immigrants, as well as other immigrants, are disproportionately represented in the crime statistics anyway, when it comes to this sort of thing. White men are actually not a greater threat to women generally, but B, we can't actually deport the white men, and we jail them. No one's in defence of a white man who commits a sex crime against a woman.
No, I'm in favour of them being punished very harshly.
Exactly. Everyone is. And no one's actually on a podcast going, but actually, maybe we shouldn't be punishing the white guy for doing that. Yeah. But when it comes to being an immigrant, as someone who is non-white, well, Politics Joe are like, no, we've got to stand in the way of these non-white nonces from being criticised by right-wingers because they're just racist. And it's like, well, even if that's true, that's not going to stop me. Anyway, yeah, so that was... But this is Newsnight talking to the actual Epping residents. And, I mean, just look at this far-right racist.
I'm really disappointed that it's been reopened. It's not right. There's a school right by, and it's just not correct. And it's right that the families of this little village actually fight for it. They're not right. They're not reform or anything like that. They're just there to protect their children.
Why do you think it's inappropriate if there's a school nearby, for example?
We don't know where they've come from. We don't know. Well, that sounds so right-wing, but I'm not. I just find it just wrong. And why did they close it in the first place? So
as you can see, mothers and grandmothers who are like, look, this is going to sound so right-wing, but a bunch of rapey foreigners have been put in that. Yeah. It's literally down the road. We can see the school from the
This is going to sound so right-wing, I'm worried that my grandchildren are going to be seriously harmed. I do apologise for thinking such things.
And it's only because one of them did touch three of
the
kids.
Yes.
This is all kicked off.
Yeah. She thinks it for good reason.
Yeah, this might happen because it's already happened.
Yes.
I'm worried about it happening more. I'm sorry this is going to sound so right-wing. It's like, okay, this isn't actually about right, left or right, actually. This isn't a right-wing opinion. This is a concerned parent opinion.
I possibly in the modern day, being concerned for your own children is a right-wing opinion.
Maybe, but
yes.
I refuse to define us by their standards. So the little Scottish left-winger gimp can call me a racist all he wants, but at the end of the day, I'm completely with the parents who are like, yeah, no, I don't want these people around my children or grandchildren. And the thing is, the actual sort of right-wing, they stayed away. Because you remember Tommy said, look, people have been asking me to go to Epping. He put up this video going, well, actually, if I go there, they make it about me and not the issue itself. And so I'm not going to go. And, you know, people further to the right than Tommy, such as Paul Golding from Britain First, also said the same thing. Actually, we're going to stay away from this because this is an issue that is currently, it doesn't need attention bringing to it. Everyone's paying attention to it. And if the far right actually do go down to it, well, then the media is like, right, gotcha. And so what this is the right wing, the far right especially, learning to play the media game, which is actually very wise.
It's actually quite sensible from Tommy and Paul.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Paul would declare himself to be a lot further to the right than Tommy, but like, the point is the right is starting to understand that there is a way of playing the media's game and basically kind of judo flipping them with their own strength. And that's what they're doing here, because screeching that this woman is not far right, but she is exactly on the same page as Paul Golding, because this isn't about partisan politics. This is about actually what needs to be done, what has to be done to protect children. And remember, there are lots of people in the country who want refugees. Tower Hamlets, for example, says the East End has a long history of providing safe haven for those fleeing religious or political persecution. Not that there are any of them in Epping, but anyway, as Labour councillors, we're proud of their history and believe Tower Hamlets should continue to play a part. Those claiming asylum in the UK have a right to have their case properly considered, and they must be accommodated while it's being decided. Okay, I think we can find an agreement here. Tower Hamlets want the refugees. Epping doesn't want the refugees.
And it should become literally a towered hamlet. It should have a wall round it, and then they can have as many as they want.
And Poplar and Limehouse from Aspana Begum MP, refugees are welcome there.
Those two, yes.
Okay, great. Every other leftist MP and councillor, please raise your hand. Please tell us where the refugees are welcome. And the Labour government should be like, right, okay, well, I think we can kill two birds with one stone here. We need somewhere safe to put these migrants, and you guys are totally welcoming of them. Enjoy.
Yes.
I mean, I just can't see how it could fail.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather not have them in the first place, but if we
sure,
but
you know,
stick them there.
Unfortunately, if it can't persuade Keir Starmer to actually deport anyone.
If you would like to watch the full uncut version that is also uncensored, head on over to lotuseaters.com to find out more.